What's happening in Gaza has been described as a macabre game of battleship. You have these tiny squares where Israel says, we're going to bomb this square, you have to leave it. If you don't leave it, you're going to be killed and it won't be our fault. And Palestinians are forced to move from one tiny square to another, again and again and again, in what is very, very clearly now an attempt at a new Nakba, a new catastrophe, driving the Palestinians out of Gaza. More than 16,000 Palestinians have now been murdered, more than 7,000 children. I saw a quote from a man who had moved from Gaza City with his family to somewhere else and then to Khan Yunis. He moved 3 times. They said, why did they eject us from our homes in Gaza if they planned to kill us here? And therefore, it's not enough to have words of criticism, we need to have action. So I want to follow up on the point that Richard was making about HP. So HP has a huge number of computers in this place in the Oireachtas, is entirely complicit in Israel's apartheid regime. So do you not think it is appropriate that we stop using Hewlett-Packard in this place? And do you also think it's appropriate that we would fly the Palestinian flag? We've been flying the Ukrainian flag for almost 2 years now. We should fly the Palestinian flag over this House.
Thanks very much, deputies. Deputy Barry said that Israel has consistently ignored UN resolutions. They've been doing that for many, many decades, and you're correct in that regard. I didn't say that the US could do nothing, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's not what I said. But I would note that Israel is not economically dependent on the US in the way it was in the past, certainly not in the way it was before the 1980s. And it is a considerable military power in its own right, but of course receives significant US help in that regard. What I did say yesterday was that experts in the politics and history of the region have expressed the view that the only thing that will cause the Israeli government to end this war and change its policy is a change in public opinion in Israel. And we've seen that with previous wars. The terrible war in Vietnam, for example, only ended when public opinion in the US turned against it. And I think we need to be cognizant of that in how we approach this. Saying things and making extreme statements that play into the hands of extremists in Israel doesn't help the cause of the Palestinian people at all. So I'd ask deputies to think about that and reflect on that. It plays totally into their hands. It's exactly what they want to see people doing so that they can misrepresent our position, which they have on more than one occasion. In terms of expelling the ambassador, once again, I don't agree with that approach. I've heard it contended in this House that if we were to do that, other EU countries will come under pressure and be forced to follow suit. As somebody who's actually attended European Council meetings on and off for 7 years now, I know that would not happen. We would be seen as an outlier and would be seen to have acted unilaterally despite the views of colleagues, and that would actually go against us in terms of influence. Where action has been taken when it comes to the expulsion of diplomats, for example, the expulsion of Russian diplomats after the events in Wiltshire, it was done not on a unilateral basis, it was done on a multilateral basis. There are 3 reasons why I think it is useful for us to have an Israeli ambassador here in Ireland and indeed an Irish ambassador in Israel. We have citizens still in Israel and in the occupied Palestinian territories. I want them to be safe and I want them to be represented. The mutual expulsion of ambassadors would not help them. We also have hundreds of troops in South Lebanon and in Golan, in UNIFIL, in UNDOF, on the borders of Israel. And from time to time, we need to talk to Israel about matters relating to their security and sometimes their health and well-being, such as using hospitals in Israel. I wouldn't like to cut off that contact. And also at some point, and hopefully in the not too distant future, we would like to make some sort of contribution to a future peace process in the region, and cutting off links with Israel would exclude us from that. So there are the 3 sensible and practical reasons as to why we don't think it's a good idea to expel the ambassador. In terms of the actions that we're taking, we're doing things that are substantive. We're increasing our aid to Gaza and Palestinians in the region. That's a real practical help. We're also using our support and our voice at EU and UN level to take particular positions. And when it comes to the International Criminal Court, we've engaged with the International Criminal Court, and we've done the thing most practical to help the International Criminal Court in their ongoing investigation, and that is to provide them with additional finance. It's clear that this matter has already been referred. There's already a case open. The International Criminal Court isn't asking people to send in the same case again and again and again. What they are asking for is real practical help, and that is finance with their investigation, and that's exactly what we've done. Resources, not repetition. And one thing I'd finally like to say, and I think this is important, I've met with the Prime Minister of Palestine, I've met with the King of Jordan, I've met with the President of Egypt, I've met with the Prime Minister of Lebanon, done all these things only in the past couple of weeks, and they thank Ireland for the position we've taken and for the actions we've taken. They ask us to do certain things, and we do them. They don't ask us to do the things that you're asking us to do. And surely doesn't that say something?